In 1995, physicists at Fermilab confirmed the existence of something almost impossible to believe, a subatomic particle called the top quark. Not remarkable for what it does, but for how long it lasts. 0.4 yoctoseconds. That's a decimal point followed by 23 zeros before you hit a 1. It blinks into existence, and before you can even finish thinking the word exist, it's already gone. Now here's the uncomfortable truth nobody tells you at school. If you were to compress the entire lifespan of our universe, 13.8 billion years, into a single calendar year, the entire span of human civilization, every war, every empire, every invention, would occupy the last 14 seconds of December 31st. Your life? A fraction of a single heartbeat. So here's the question that has haunted every thinking human being who has ever looked up at that sky. What is the point? We spend 70, maybe 80 years on this rock, a pale blue dot orbiting an average star in the outer arm of one galaxy among 2 trillion others. And somewhere between our first breath and our last, most of us stop and ask, why do we exist? What is this universe for? And does any of it mean anything? For nearly 300,000 years, Homo sapiens has been standing under the stars, asking this exact question. And in those 300 millennia, we've come up with essentially 2 categories of answers. The first, religious. The second, rational. And here's what's fascinating. Both of them are trying to solve the same problem. How do I make my short, fragile, confusing life feel like it matters? Across cultures and centuries, the religious answer has taken many forms, but it shares a common spine. A creator made this universe with intention. You were placed here for a purpose. And if you live correctly, devotedly, righteously, faithfully, there is something beyond this life waiting for you. Heaven, paradise, nirvana, liberation, a state where suffering ends, where the anxiety of existence is finally, permanently resolved. And for billions of human beings across history, this answer was enough. More than enough. It gave them a reason to endure hardship, a framework for morality, a story they could live inside. But then, something happened. Humans started looking more carefully at the universe they claimed to understand. And what they found was not what the ancient stories predicted. The Earth wasn't flat. It wasn't the center of anything. The sun, worshipped as a god by dozens of civilizations, turned out to be an ordinary middle-aged star. Not divine, not eternal. In approximately 5 billion years, it will expand into a red giant and swallow the Earth whole. The stars our ancestors believed were holes in a heavenly canopy, each one is a sun of its own, many far larger than ours, surrounded by their own worlds. And those worlds? We've now counted over 5,000 confirmed exoplanets. Our galaxy alone contains an estimated 400 billion stars. And there are at least 2 trillion galaxies in the observable universe. The ancient maps of the cosmos were drawn with almost no information. They weren't lies necessarily, they were just first drafts. And first drafts are always incomplete. So if the universe turned out to be so much bigger, older, and stranger than we imagined, does that make our ancient answers wrong, or just insufficient? Here's the challenge. If you believe in an afterlife, a paradise, a spiritual reward, there is, as of today, no verifiable evidence that any of it exists. That doesn't mean it doesn't, but it means we can't confirm it. And betting your one confirmed life on an outcome you cannot verify is, at minimum, a significant risk. But here's where the rational path gets uncomfortable too. If we strip away religion, if we accept the scientific picture of reality, matter, energy, space, time, then what are we? Are we just extremely complicated arrangements of atoms? Biological machines running on electrochemical signals? Robots made of meat, programmed by 4 billion years of evolution, following laws we didn't write? If that's all we are, then why does anything matter? Why does love feel like more than chemistry? Why does injustice feel like more than a social inconvenience? Why does staring at the Grand Canyon at sunrise make something in your chest ache in a way you can't explain? The purely mechanical answer to existence leaves a hole the size of the universe itself. So let's try something different. Imagine you were born today. Not in any culture, not in any tradition. No one has told you any stories about what you are or why you're here. You look around. You notice one undeniable fact. Things exist. You exist. Other people exist. Trees exist. Galaxies exist. And you, unlike every other known arrangement of matter in the universe, know that you exist. That changes everything. Scientists call it consciousness. And it remains, much in the words of philosopher David Chalmers, the hard problem of science. We can map every neuron. We can trace every electrical signal. But we still cannot fully explain why there is something it feels like to be you. Why you don't just process information, but experience it. Current scientific consensus is moving toward a radical idea. Consciousness isn't something added to the universe. It may be a fundamental property of it, like gravity, like electromagnetism. Not a ghost in the machine becoming aware of itself. Now consider this. We've explored our solar system. We've analyzed the atmospheres of distant worlds. Venus, a pressure cooker hell of sulfuric acid clouds hot enough to melt lead. Mars, a barren, frozen desert, scoured by radiation, its ancient oceans long gone. Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, giant storms of gas and ice, hostile to any biology we can imagine. We've pointed our best telescopes at thousands of other star systems. We've listened for radio signals, we've run the mathematics of probability, and so far, silence. Across a universe of 2 trillion galaxies and more planets than there are grains of sand on every beach on Earth, we have found exactly one place where consciousness exists. Here. That is either the most terrifying statistic in science or the most extraordinary. Here's a perspective that doesn't come from religion. It doesn't come from philosophy. It comes directly from the data. For the first 9 billion years of the universe's existence, there was no life. Hydrogen and helium drifting in darkness, stars forming, burning, exploding, heavier elements scattering into space. Then, approximately 4 billion years ago, on one unremarkable rocky planet, in an unremarkable corner of an unremarkable galaxy, something happened. Chemistry became biology, and over 4 billion years of iteration, extinction, and reinvention, a species emerged that could look back at the universe and understand what it was looking at. Think about what that means. The universe, even through us, became aware of itself. For the first time in 13.8 billion years, the cosmos had eyes, had curiosity, had questions. The question we're asking right now, why do we exist? Is the universe asking itself why it exists? And this isn't just poetic. It's backed by something physicists call the Anthropic Principle, the observation that the fundamental constants of this universe are tuned with extraordinary precision to allow complexity, chemistry, and eventually life to emerge. Change the strength of gravity by a fraction of a percent. No stars. Alter the charge of an electron. No atoms. Shift the ratio of matter to antimatter even slightly. No universe. The laws of this universe appear, against all odds, to favor the existence of minds, which raises the most unsettling question of all. Is that a coincidence? So if you remove the supernatural, if you stand in the cold light of what we actually know, here is what the evidence suggests our purpose might be. Not assigned by a creator, not written in a holy text, but readable, if you know how to look. First, expand consciousness. Life has spent 4 billion years moving from single cells to creatures capable of writing symphonies and sending spacecraft to the edge of the solar system. The trajectory is clear, consciousness grows, and we may be the species responsible for carrying it beyond this one fragile planet. Before an asteroid, a pandemic, a dying sun, or our own poor decisions end the experiment entirely. Second, extend the time we have. Scientists studying aging have identified structures called telomeres, protective caps on our chromosomes that shorten with every cell division. As they shrink, we age. Researchers are now exploring treatments that slow this process, and some results are genuinely startling. We've discovered organisms like Turritopsis dohrnii, the so-called immortal jellyfish, that can revert to an earlier biological stage and essentially restart. Biology has already solved immortality once. We just haven't learned to replicate it. Third, build the paradise we imagined. For thousands of years, human beings dreamed of a perfect world, free from suffering, from fear, from death. They called it heaven, Jannah, Elysium, Nirvana. Every culture invented its own name for the same longing. What if we stopped waiting for it to be given to us and started building it? Artificial intelligence is already accelerating medical research at a pace no human team could match. Quantum computing is set to crack problems that classical computers could never solve. And within this century, the question of whether human consciousness can be preserved, transferred, or indefinitely extended will move from science fiction to scientific agenda. Our ancestors looked at the same sky we see tonight. They told stories to make sense of it. And those stories gave them purpose. The details may have been wrong, but the instinct was right. The instinct that said, this matters. You matter. Do something with it. We are not here despite the universe being vast and indifferent. We are here because of it. Born from dying stars. Assembled over billions of years. Given a brain that can ask why, and hands that can do something about the answer. The universe spent 13.8 billion years building something capable of understanding it. The least we can do is not waste the time we have.